Hey guys, happy new year. So anyway, this is my first time to show you on how I flip some ukay-ukay clothes to, make something out of nothing kind of thing, or to give new life or purpose to these neglected thrifted stuff in this world. So yeah, I really hope you'll enjoy it. Alright, so first in line is this gray ruffly dress. I actually bought it from an ukay-ukay because I really love French dresses from the 1950s, or actually something Carrie Bradshaw from Sex and the City would wear. Anyway, it is kinda big for me, and alam niyo yung parang feeling ko ang dami nangyayari dito sa dress na to kasi it's fringy, it's knee length, and it doesn't give me any shape at all. So just to show you a rough plan in case maguluhan kayo sa kawalan ko ng skills sa pagtatahi, it's a halter dress, so I am planning to make it like a halter top. Wise, right? I'm also gonna make it uber backless, just like those trendy tops that we see on Instagram. And I'm also aiming for a Parisian vibe with a cute ribbon to lock it in at the back. So to begin revamping/restyling this fringe dress, I just cut it randomly and very carefully in the middle. Guys, hindi naman kailangan na like sobrang eksakto and maayos yung paggupit. So I'm just estimating on how long I want my top to be. So turning it over, I cut along the neckline just like a half crescent moon. Because as I said, I want this to be extra backless, just so there's a balance between the super fringy, a lot of going on fabric, to showing a lot of my skin at the back. And again, ta-da-ta, I repeat, randomly because I cut like Edward Scissorhands, guys. I randomly cut out the sides of this top that I am creating to fully set this top spirit free, because cutting a big chunk of unnecessary fabric is so satisfying, guys. And of course, to make it more satisfying, I cut out extra zigzag fabrics para magmukha siyang malinis kahit papaano. Actually, nung una, hindi ko naisip na nga pala kailangan ko tong gawa ng paraan kasi nga I need to remove that zipper. So I thought of a much easier way to lock this neck detail in, which is attaching some buttons. So do you remember that video that I uploaded like 3 months ago wherein I made some sustainable accessories? On one of those earrings, I used the buttons of this extra ukay polo that I bought. So yes, obviously, I'm gonna use it again because it is really pretty and timeless. Of course, on one side, I'm gonna stitch up this button right here, but guys, please do not judge my sewing skills. I know we have different and proper ways to sew buttons plus names on how to call them, but this is just called the Lee way of sewing, aka very random at sadyang, alam niyo, function lang ang labanan. I just cut a slit for that buttonhole, and for those extra fabrics, I will be using again my sewing skills to lock them in. I actually remember doing this kind of sewing technique back in elementary, but of course in a more proper and presentable way. So after a few minutes and one episode of Friends later, here is how it looks like. I also tried it because I was so excited to see my progress. And in fairness, guys, medyo naging kontento naman ako sa naging itsura niya, pero I also saw that it was a bit long, so I just decided to cut a few more inches. This is the most exciting part, aka attaching this beautiful silver ribbon that I just found here randomly lying in our old cabinets. So yeah, first is I'm gonna cut a slit right here on the side edge of my top. I also included the inner fabric so everything else would be secured and in place. Okay, I'm just gonna test it out if my ribbons would go through smoothly because I actually didn't even measure everything. So guys, please bear with this thrift flip video. And of course, I want everything to slightly be clean looking kahit papano. So yeah, here I am sewing through the edges of my slits. Actually guys, I'm very surprised that this went very well. And alam niyo yung nalimutan ko na nakaka-relax nga palang manahi. I feel like it's a therapeutic way to get out alive during this very long pandemic. After a few brain cells of figuring out on how I can attach this seamlessly, what I did was I inserted the tip of the ribbon into the slit. I folded it and inserted it inside. Sana guys, hindi kayo nalilito sa mga sinasabi ko. Pero yeah, after that, I sewed along the fold of the ribbon, and as far as I can remember, this is one of my most favorite sewing processes before because the output will look like a clean line of thread. Sana ganun yung maging itsura niya. Pero if I remember correctly, it's called a backstitch. Kasi before ka mag-proceed dun sa next na stitch mo, babalik ka muna na isang beses para walang space so you can create a straight, beautiful line. So after cutting all the excess thread, ribbon, and fabric, here is my semi-masterpiece, guys. I'm actually very proud of what I did here kasi in fairness, alam niyo, na-enjoy ko rin talaga siyang gawin, which is actually one of the most important parts in doing anything, especially right now. So yeah, I paired it with this white leather skirt and white boots, which I am so happy about, by the way, kasi ito talaga yung nai-imagine kong style sa kanya, and I feel like it's something that I would walk the streets of Paris with while drinking some wine and watching the sunset. A girl can dream. You might be wondering what will happen to that lower side of the dress. Well, I want to do something amazing, guys. I thought of improving my silver bag right here na nabili ko lang din sa ukay-ukay from way back for only like 110 pesos. So yes, my plan is to just basically give this bag a new look by sewing these remaining fabrics dun sa bag mismo. Plano ko rin palitan yung sling into a chained one because I want to give some contrast to that very matte looking fabric of mine. By the way, guys, naisip ko siyang medyo i-decorate kasi as you can see, medyo luma na yung itsura niya and the leather is kind of suffering already. So yeah, let us try to make this vision of mine alive. First is to roughly estimate the amount of fabric that I will be needing. In this case, medyo sosobrahan ko siya ng konti, guys, kasi mas okay nang sobra kaysa kulang, diba? Need something. So for this, I decided to walk the long road of stitching, which is actually the best option in the first place. Pero alam niyo nung una, medyo skeptical din talaga ako na mag-work to because I have this thick leather fabric versus this very thin needle and thread. Pero actually, guys, hindi pala siya ganun kakapal. Nagulat din ako. Except on those sides na doble yung leather. But all in all, it wasn't that hard at all. Anyway, I just used this very super mega extra basic running stitch because the stitches are hidden in these fringy fabric. So we really just need to attach them properly and sturdily kasi yun nga, hindi naman siya gaano makikita, diba? Stay with me. Before covering the sides of the bag, I went ahead and snipped the leather slings first to give myself some room to stitch. Well, don't worry, guys, medyo worn out na rin talaga siya and I have this very easy idea for our slings later. Anyway, I continued to just stitch my fabric onto the sides and actually medyo surprising na ang dali lang pala niya talagang gawin kasi nga ang lambot pala ng leather and siguro nakatulong din talaga na maraming fringes yung bag so it doesn't really need to be like super duper OC na pagtahi kasi nga hindi naman siya mahalata rin gaano. But before I forget, I also went ahead and stitched this inner side of the bag kung nasaan yung zipper kasi it looks really worn out kung nakikita nyo. It's the same process of course, but I decided to use this fabric glue initially because I really just wanted for it to hold in place kasi alam yun, ayokong matamaan yung zipper. And the space is kind of smaller than the other part. So yeah, para lang sure, gumamit ako ng fabric glue at first. And after that, I went ahead and stitched away. As in guys, ganun nun talaga siya kadali. You can do this in any of your bag that you feel needs some revamping up. After covering all the sides, well, actually, except for the base part kasi the material is still sturdy enough and I don't want to ruin its quality by stitching on it, I attached these bag chains that I just bought from Shopee for like only 100 pesos each. Guys, I feel like this is such a Mentos moment. Alam niyo yung mga epic na 90s Mentos commercials kapag may naisip silang bright idea to solve something.
Mentos, the fresh maker.
Here is the finished product, guys, and it is just so beautiful. I feel like it went from a 100 peso ukay fine to something that you would buy from a designer store. Feeling ko lang naman. I'm also proud of myself to choose this kind of process kasi actually nung una, I was thinking to create a bag from scratch solely using this fabric. Sobrang hirap noon and hindi talaga siya practical. So, yeah, why not just redecorate an existing piece, right? Tandaan nyo guys, everything doesn't need to be complicated to be worth it. I'm just so thankful that I can already flip this robe. Alam nyo ba na nabili ko to sa ukay-ukay for only 55 pesos. And actually, binili ko talaga siya for a future thrift flip such as this because when I saw it hanging on that rack, I knew that it has this huge potential with its silk fabric and those gold and red prints na actually, alam nyo hanggang hindi ko pa rin alam talaga kung ano talaga sila. But yes, anyway, my plan is to create a crop top from it with crossed fabrics going around my body to make a ribbon at the back. Guys, hindi rin halata halata na mahilig ako sa ribbon sa likod. I'm also planning to make a skirt so we would have this very beautiful 1960s inspired matchy pieces. So, using a ruler, yes, nag-ruler din ako guys sa wakas. I drew a straight line from a crop top length up to the bottom of the robe to serve as my crossed fabric ribbons to lock the top in place. Well, I'm not very good at explaining guys, but I hope the demo would do a nice justice. After creating those guidelines, I cut along the lines just like so. These would serve as my ribbons that would wrap around my back to securely lock this top in. Then after that, I lay this piece flat on the floor and use this metal ruler again to connect the portions where I started to cut them. Well, I hope I'm not confusing you guys, but you will see what I mean in the next few minutes. I cut along these guidelines to serve as the actual length of the top. Actually, alam nyo, medyo tabingi pa nga talaga yung nagawa ko kasi hindi rin talaga pantay yung cut ng robe. Pero guys, hindi rin kasi talaga ako perfectionist. So alam nyo, medyo tinansya-tansya ko na lang talaga siya along the way. And after that again, I also cut off these strings because I figured that it has no use at all onto my ongoing design. I'm actually very fascinated of how the back turned out, which is really just in my vision. However, the front part went a little shorter than expected, but you know, it's okay. I still loved how the silhouette turned out. Without you by my side. Anyway, for the skirt, I will just be trusting my instincts here because I won't be using any pattern for this. So I wrapped it around my body and kind of played with it until I got that kind of brain and heart satisfaction, while also balancing aesthetics and function because I don't want my pee-pee peekabooing whenever I wear it. And using my safety pin, I locked it in into the silhouette that I want to achieve. Okay, well, standing up again, I carefully cut out the silhouette that I am aiming for. Actually, gusto ko talaga yung medyo asymmetrical. And alam niyo yung parang nag-wrap around ka lang talaga ng tela sa bewang mo, yung ganong effect. Anyway, before, alam niyo kasi guys, medyo perfectionist talaga ako, but I realized that it gives me that extra anxiety kasi hindi naman talaga kailangan perfect ang bagay-bagay, diba? So, yeah, just go with the flow, you know. Using a pencil, I marked their exact positions, but to tell you the truth guys, it was a bit tricky. Kaya actually, kailangan kong tumayo talaga while doing this kasi nga feeling ko I will just repeat and repeat kapag alam yun, bara-bara lang talaga yung pagkakagawa ko. After carefully marking my targets, I used my handy-dandy extra button again and stitched it on the fabric. And for my second target, I need to cut a slit for this buttonhole. I stitched through the cut lines again to furthermore make this somewhat done by a professional instead of someone who's just guessing every kind of stitch that she will make. After perfecting the buttons, I went ahead and folded some of the extra fabrics outwards on the top side of my skirt. Actually, nung una, alam nyo, iniisip ko na gupitin na lang siya or tanggalin, but I thought that it would make a great accent to my piece. I also decided to stitch along the fold to kinda lock it in place because I really loved how it added some interesting detail on the skirt that I'm making. Then lastly guys, I trimmed some extra zigzag fabrics to make the skirt even prettier and neat. So there you have this Catherine Zeta-Jones from the Mask of Zorro-ish inspired two-piece dress. Actually guys, matagal ko na talaga tong gustong gawin, but I was a bit skeptical at first because I don't wanna ruin this very beautiful flowy fabric. But you know what, after contemplating and overcoming weeks of procrastinating, I can say that I really do love how it turned out. Anyway, those are my beloved flipped ukay stuff, and I hope that this inspired you to reuse, revamp, restyle, or whatever that word may be on some of your clothes as well. Thanks, and I will see you next week. Bye!